Hi guys, Claire Maxwell here with Alexander Technique and Mobile Alignment. This is another video in a series I've been making where people who read my newsletter, which you can sign up for on the website below, people write in with questions they have about challenges they're facing, and I do my best to answer without having met you or being able to see. But I really enjoy this, and this question is for someone who had an ankle injury. And what he said was that he had to have his ankle reconstructed and was in this journey of being able to put maybe 50% of his body weight on his foot and wanting to get back to putting the whole body weight, allowing that to go through the ankle joint. So this is actually really up for me. I had a really interesting lesson this week, and I do have something to say on the topic, which, because this is Alexander work, really has to do with a very open observation of habitual responses that my body has to pain, and putting weight on a leg that may or may not have pain or restriction. So the main thing I noticed, and that I had a lot of fun working with this week, I'll just show you here, is that, say this was, I'm just putting my foot up here so that you can see it. So when you pick up your foot, you kind of have to use some muscles at the front of the foot, and you tend to pick up, it's like all of this musculature kind of tenses up a little bit. But then sometimes when we put our foot down, we don't really put it down. And so there's this kind of underlying not quite having allowed the whole foot to touch the floor. So in specific, I want to talk about two places in your foot. Oh, I wish I could get closer. Let me see. Maybe we can get a little closer. And I can show you. Yeah, I think you can see that. So let's just look at your foot as if you never really looked at it before. So you can let go of any expertise that you might think you have, and just notice these pads on your foot. So when I say pads, I'm talking about the parts of your foot that actually are touching the ground a lot of the time. And you can just kind of softly embrace your heel and feel that pad. And then what you notice if you touch the surface is that there's this whole middle section of your foot that kind of arcs up and doesn't touch the floor. It's really different on different people. Some people have flatter feet than others, but it's still a sort of affinity that these bones, you can even see the skin is different because it's not having pressure on it. And then there's this kind of beautiful arc of your toe joints, your big toe joints. So it kind of looks like it's your foot, but if you touch the bones, it's actually your toes. And there's this arched pad there. And then there's this other miraculous kind of forgotten part, which is the underside of your toes, which also arc up off the ground. And then these very, very tippy tips of your toes. So what I noticed with myself and with some students is that there's a tendency to not really let that last tip of your toe touch. Or that as soon as I start to shift weight, I start to pull up off of those contact points. So just see what it's like. Take a moment and really notice your big toe the next one, the next one, the next one, and even the little one. And just see how much movement you have if you allow a gentle shift to, because you're not putting weight on it, so you don't have to worry about your knee joint and your hip joint. You can just let those joints do what they need to do. You don't have to worry about, oh, I shouldn't be pronating and supinating or whatever. And then just see how much movement there is to the other way without pulling your toes or your knuckles, your foot knuckles up. And you can just kind of play around with that, shifting. You can also use something like a stool like this to play around a little bit more with moving your foot. And just remember that your foot, I'm trying to get myself in the, I think here we go, I go like that, that your foot was once like a hand. So if you're working with an object like this, or maybe something that's a little softer, like the edge of your couch, what's it like to let your toes embrace and use that little arched part underneath your toes a little bit more than you would normally. So this is a lovely exploration that you can do just without having the demand of having the weight going through your foot. And I guess I'd have to make a whole separate video of then going to exploring the weight going through your foot. But for those of you that can do that now, having done that with one foot, see what it's like to walk around a little bit and know that as you make a shift, a slight shift, or a turn, a shift of weight, that each one of those little toe tips is doing something, has its own little job, and needs to be touching the floor to do that job. So I hope that was helpful to some of you. Peace and love, and I will see you hopefully in a month. Okay, bye.